Toy sales, which they really need this year. This week, after a really nice opening shot, we learned that this is going to be your standard sports festival episode. As such, the Precure's class needed to pick out team leaders, starting with the girls' relay race.
Hi! Sora Haruwataru-sanがいいと思います.
And who's that? Oh, it's Mr. MVP! Simp!
Of course, Sora had no idea what a relay was, but fortunately, when it was described to her by Masho, like with the Yakitai, there just so happened to be an identical sport in Skyland called Raluy, which kind of sounds French, but again, to hide Skyland's existence, they use Scandinavia as a scapegoat.
そうです。村のお祭りでは必ずラルーの選手に選ばれてましたよ。
Heroes who partake in cultural appropriation. Anyway, Sora accepted the position, and would even end up being the anchor, under the condition that the one who passed her the baton would be Mashiro. Of course, the girl who has been established as the least athletic member of this team was hesitant, but her leader had the perfect game plan.
足の速さは重要です。でもリレーにおいて大事なこと、それは
Jazz hands? Now, of course, it was about focusing on the actual baton pass and executing it perfectly. Then, had this been anyone besides Sora, Mashiro likely would have refused this role, but as has been established throughout this series, these two really do trust each other, so she accepted and entrusted her training to the blue head.
もちろんです。やりましょう。特訓。
Toy, stop just giving away Ultra Instinct. When everyone is a Super Saiyan God, then no one's a Super Saiyan God. Tsubasa also agreed to assist in their training, and he turned out to be the much better trainer overall by actually providing some very practical and applicable to real-life advice. Meanwhile, Sora...
それは前だけを見て走ることです。
Yeah, in other words...
逃げるんだよ!
And we're just gonna save that meme for later. I mean, to be fair, the obvious stuff aside, she did provide Mashiro with some good advice that worked by giving her the feeling of what she needed to do, rather than just trying to explain it all practically. As a result, Mashiro seemed to have a good first day of training. The day was then topped off with her being reminded by the young and innocent Elle that it was also important to enjoy the activity, like the toddler who was improving her step game, which, yeah, might be foreshadowing something else, but let's save that for later. Anyway, the remainder of her training was done with your bog standard montage, which, may as well throw in this music.
We're gonna need a montage. A sports training montage.
The day of the sports festival soon arrived, as did the main event of the day. Sora tried to give her partner a pep talk.
マシロさんが最高のバトンを渡してくれるって。
Wow, didn't realize they made flags in this size. But yeah, while we're about to see some really well laid out scenes in just a bit, one of my favorite moments of this episode was just this little bit of Mashiro looking away from Sora. It's very subtle, and yet it gets across a lot about Mashiro's doubts in regard to the race. This will of course carry on into the actual event, and this is where the animation of this episode really took a step up. I mean, it looked fine up until this point, but starting from here, we got some nice angles, effective usage of zoom-ins, and a good sense of speed as Mashiro made her way to Sora, which made this hit a lot harder.
What a surprise!
Okay, obvious foreshadowing and sports anime cliches aside, this was still an amazing sequence. I think the idea was that we were seeing everything from Mashiro's perspective, as due to the adrenaline, she had become laser focused on reaching Sora. However, once that laser went off target, almost everything went black, with the only thing she could pick up being the other runners passing her. For Mashiro, all she could sense was her own failings. It was a brilliantly done moment, and a lot of credit should go to veteran storyboarder and director Hatsuno Morio. It's honestly a bit of a crime that this is his first Reiwa-era Precure series. Anyway, in spite of that fall, and likely a lot of self-doubt filling the poor girl up, Mashiro managed to run past it all and give the baton to Sora, who proceeded to just win the race. And personally, I would have had them come in second place. I mean, yeah, of course, this magical girl is Hibiki Tachibana levels of OP, but with significant enough lead, I think at least someone should have beaten her, and as they say, there is more to learn in defeat rather than in victory. It also would have made this following scene just a little more powerful. Mashiro ran off, claiming that she needed to wash off some sweat that also happened to be coming from her eyes. Yeah, she was frustrated that she almost cost them the race, and even then, she was clearly the weak link, especially when compared to Sora.
それが悔しい。ソラちゃんが頑張ってくれて、せこと言っちゃって。
Now again, I do think it would have made the scene a little more effective if they had lost, but I also will count it as just a bit of a nitpick, as I think they more wanted to focus on the power divide between these two cures. Mashiro needed Sora to cover for her, and likely felt like she was dragging her down to her level. This has been likely something she's felt throughout the series, in particular when she almost left Skyline without her. If she could barely reach out to her in a simple relay race, what hope did she have of actually ever reaching her? However, Sora then revealed that at least half of the reason she wanted Mashiro to be her third was because she simply wanted to enjoy the race with her friend. Hell, she was even ready to give up when Mashiro went down and seemed like she was going to give up, and yet her perseverance in the face of near defeat likely gave her even more drive than it would have done normally. Really good stuff that really shows how these two make each other. Anyway, we then got the Monster of the Week fight, where again, thankfully, we got much better animation than last week. I really like it when these Mohawk freaks almost feel like they have toon physics to them, as it makes the fight feel a little more dynamic and unique. Anyway, in spite of the hit from Tsubasa, the monster still managed to outspeed them like a fast runner, so...
はい。使いなら当てられるから。
Well, just as long as Yajirobe's not around to almost completely screw things up. Also, Sora, what did I say about skipping leg day? But yeah, through the power of obvious symbolism, they defeated the monster. Afterwards, the Precure's class managed to take first place overall in the event, which, you know, they still could have taken, even with second place in the relay, but whatever. Then, the episode ended with the writer, Mio Inoue, making a possible reference to one of her most popular episodes for this franchise, and Mashiro having found a new side to herself. Cameo cure this week was Mana, and I just realized we were just one off from the other season that had a really good relay race episode. Damn it. Regardless, this is still a very solid sports festival episode in its own right. As on top of having some very nice animation to get across the drama and action of a race, this was also a good character piece for the Cure, who has taken a little bit of a backseat after the Skyline episodes. And yeah, while I have my little nitpicks here and there that prevent this from quite reaching the same level as that Smile Precure episode, I do think it's still a very solid runner-up. So, yeah, let's just get this out of the way. I did prefer Smile Precure's episode 18's ending, where they ended up losing due to Now slipping up near the end. It led to a much stronger and justifiably emotional moment, as they had been that close to taking the gold. However, I also do kind of see these two episodes as being a bit of a case of apples and oranges, as they focus on different things. Sora and Masho's relationship has been a major linchpin of this show, the idea being that, like the original duo who started this franchise, they complete each other. If one falls, the other will pick up the slack. That's likely more what they want to focus on in this relay race, and I could say they did very effectively with some fantastic direction and storyboarding. As we keep saying, this is a season of visual storytelling, and they have not missed a beat so far in my opinion. As a result, Mashiro did get some much needed attention that she has been lacking for the past few weeks. That said, I do also kind of want to see her overcome her feelings of inadequacy, which have kind of become her go-to story for the show. I liked it here as it did at least tie back to her relationship with Sora, but with a new Cure finally debuting next week, I do hope they open up more story possibilities for her. Still, overall, this was yet another very solid character-driven filler episode. Mashiro might still need to work on her form, but at least she knows what her goals are. Later this week, hopefully, we are going to release a review for our Princess Precure Dojishi that, to say the least, is, pretty unique. It's actually been one of my personal favorites, and one I've been meaning to cover for a good while, just to share the laughs with y'all. Look forward to it, and until then, though, farewell for now, my friends, and, hey, come back here! I need you for the next video!